so they come to the U.S. and the album that really does well in the U.S. is one of my favorite album covers of all times, even though it does have devil horns on it. But like, I think Angus looks great. I like how his lips look super full there. There's kind of like this long shot. Like, I really, really love it. So, yep, it's that Highway to Hell album.
So like we were saying, so every album they put out, they just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it basically culminated at that time in Highway to Hell, which was like, it became big in places beside Australia. Like they were really on the cusp of being one of the biggest rock bands in the world.
Yeah.
But this is the thing, is that Bon, aka Bonald, really was on that Highway to Hell.
He really was.
Because he did not make it to see another album.
No, he didn't. They actually thought they were too hard for America. Check that out.
Really?
Yeah. That's some good shit. But yeah, he drank way too much. Like, even his mom was like, you can't really talk to somebody when they're at that point. Like, you know what I'm saying? They either got to bottom themselves out or die. And it's unfortunate, but that's what alcohol does to you. Either, like, takes you to your lowest point or it kills you. Like, that's it.
Yeah, but like we were saying from the beginning, I mean, he really lived that rock and roll shit. Like, he was not lying. Like, this was not his persona.
Right.
Like, they were saying he would literally be drunk, but when they had the house together, like, he would literally be drunk till he passes out. He would wake up in the morning and just immediately grab the next bottle.
Yeah.
And that was his fucking life. And he really did that. And you could only do that for so long.
Yeah.
So literally, they're on the cusp of the biggest success that they could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And their lead singer dies.
Wow.
And this is the most insane part of their story, honestly, because he dies. It must have been such a, it must have been terrible for all of them. They lost their friend, they lost their singer. It's like, what the hell are we gonna do? They're debating, like, should we even keep doing this? Should we break up? You know what I mean? And that's the thing, like, it's like similar to what we were talking about, like Zeppelin. It's like, yes, you're losing a big part of your band, but you're losing, like, a family member. It's not just like, oh, yeah, we'll get someone else. Like, no, like, this is someone you've been basically living with for years. It's like, it's hard to just get over it. You can't just get over that.
Yeah, and it's like their family was involved with him, too. Like, they even show, like, the sister talk about him all these years later, and even she was almost crying, like, still. Like, so, yeah, they were, like, a close-knit, and it's crazy because that translates in their music. Like, it's all a family, we're all together doing one thing, just like we were just saying about the stuff. But yeah, so now they got to decide, well, what do we do? Do we hang it up, or are we fucked up people if we find somebody else? Like, what happens now?
Well, what I heard is that it was actually Bon's parents that said to them, hey, you got to keep going, because that's what Bon would have wanted. I
feel like they're telling the truth in that one. You know what I mean? Like, he just seems like the kind of guy who was like, you're going to let this stop you? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, they said, and like I said, I think we watched the same exact thing. They literally had, like, his mom, like, Bon's mom, saying, like, all he ever wanted to do was be a rock and roll singer. So it's like, he did that, and they got the band to this level. He's just like, you're just going to stop?
Right.
Like, I don't think he would have wanted that.
No, I feel like if we could make, like, a weird, quirky movie, and we put him, like, in another realm, he would be doing that. He would be, like, trying to talk to them from another realm, like, don't let this stop you.
Yeah.
If, like, especially, like, if they couldn't hear him, he would be like, that'd be a cool, like, kind of thing, like, right?
And they can't hear anything.
They're just like, oh. Yeah. He's like, don't stop!
So then they need a new singer. They decided they're going to go on.
Yeah.
But not a replacement.
Right.
Just a new singer.
Yeah.
They don't need someone to sound exactly like Bon. They just need the right person.
Yeah.
So apparently, before Bon died, he had seen this band that was led by a singer named Brian Johnson.
Dun, 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 dun.
And legend has it is that the first time that Bon saw him perform, he was suffering from appendicitis.
Uh-oh.
And because Brian had such pain in his appendix while he was performing, he was literally, like, on the ground, like, squirming and screaming.
Oh.
And Bon was like, wow, this guy has some stage presence. That's really, you've heard about that.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's so funny to me. It's like, because, yeah, I mean, if you're in the crowd, I guess you wouldn't know that he's really in pain. Like, this is not the show. Like, he's really fucked up, but he never stopped singing.
Right.
So Bon's like, this guy's wild. So even before Bon died, he had said something to the rest of the band about this guy Brian Johnson. He was like, oh yeah, I saw this great singer, blah blah blah. I'm sure it was kind of like in passing, like they weren't like really good friends or anything. But like, yeah, I saw this guy Brian Johnson was great. So eventually, I don't know, like I don't remember exactly how. I guess he had an audition.
He had an audition, and he was like a fan of them anyway because he had liked how Bon was handling things on stage and stuff, and all the stuff that he'd heard about ACDC, the uniform, and just he's like Angus just wilding out on stage, and like you cut to a clip of Angus, and he's literally like on his side doing like a spin and stuff. So yeah. So he loved it, and I think still to this day, like everybody considers him like the biggest ACDC fan in the world because he really like wanted to join the band. Like,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So it all worked out. It all worked out for Brian. It worked out for the rest of the band as well as it could because Brian joined the band. This is what I heard. They had been working on like the chords for "You Shook Me." And they didn't have any words for it yet. And that when they decided that Brian was going to be the guy, he basically like, okay, yeah, we've been working on this. And he wrote all the lyrics in like 15 minutes.
Insane.
And they were like, all right, this is the guy. So they work on the new album. And remember, they were right on the cusp of their biggest success when Bon died.
Yep.
So they're like, all right, we got a new album. And this is something I was thinking about. Like, if you're just a fan of AC/DC, right? And you know their singer just died, and you don't... This is before the internet. You don't know who Brian Johnson is. You may have heard, like, oh yeah, they got this Brian Johnson guy, and you're like, what the fuck? What's going on? So you have no idea what the music is going to be like until the album comes out. Mm-hmm. So the album comes out, Back in Black. Mm-hmm. And not only is it their biggest album, it's the second best-selling album of all time. Only behind Thriller by Michael Jackson. And I didn't know that until recently. I knew it was obviously a huge album. I didn't know it was the second best-selling album ever.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I figured as much, though, because this is huge. AC/DC, everybody loves these guys. People love these guys, and they don't even know they love these guys. Like,
Yeah, basically. So that's just insane. That's one of the most insane stories in rock, period. That you lose your lead singer that you've had all this success with. You get another guy, and now you're even bigger than you ever were. Like, you never even missed a beat.
Yeah.
And that whole album goes so hard.
Oh my gosh, it's such a great album. And to me, like, just like, I've watched a couple of Angus interviews, and just knowing him from, like, growing up and just watching him on TV and, being a kid, when you see somebody like that on stage, I mean, that's right up your alley as a child.
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? So, I've always, but I loved him, but I feel like a story like that couldn't have happened to two better guys, I feel like, because they've got like such like this kind of humble, like just kind of laid back, like honest, integral thing in terms of the music, in terms of how to approach the music and how they want it to hit you. Like, they're not gimmicky, they're not just trying to sell, they're not always constantly trying to change their clothes to make you say, to be like, look at me and stuff like that. They just want you to hear the music. And for them to like experience such a tragedy, to be such honest rockers, to experience a tragedy like that, but then to have the turnover be so like divine, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, couldn't have happened to like cooler people, I think.